It's usually hello, and yes, I do need my haircut. Hello to everybody, and this one is going to be a good one. We've got Perez Hilton returning, we've got a Manic Street Preachers debate, and we've got Danny Ross coming on. But most of all, I've got a set of headphones, and yes, I can't actually hear anything as I'm talking. But first, plugs. Don't forget there's a show Patreon. We can get a lot of exclusive content before everyone else. You can also download it for free. It's all unedited, uncensored, uncut, so you can get the entire raw audio files to grab the audio and do whatever you want with it. Don't forget to follow the Creative Control Network on iTunes and Twitter, not Instagram, so that you can find out about other shows on the network, such as Oh What a Washed Animal, Highway to Helms with Shane Helms, The Way Back Playback, Wrestling with Reality, Creative Control itself, and yes, even David Radigan Show, If You Dare. Calm down, Dave. I'm just having a joke with you. Don't forget, if you're listening to this on iTunes or any of the other streaming apps, such as Spotify, there's also a video version of this on YouTube where you can see just how badly I'm dressed. And if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget that you can find this podcast on Hipcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, all your friendly apps where you can get to hear me uncut with extra audio because there's legal ways around all that stuff. Yeehaw! Also, don't forget that the Keeping It 100 YouTube page. It's an official channel, which of course is the legendary podcast from Conan, Disco Inferno, Shane Helms, and that other guy, I can't remember his name. That's where you can go to actually get in contact with the guys from the show. And that is the end of the plugs. Okay, up first, we got a top 5 debate from the legendary band, the Manic Street Preachers, talking up with Paul again. He's officially the most returning guest of the show. And if you listen to this on one of the streaming apps, you'll get to hear the song clips. And remember, all those songs are available to buy or stream at all your good song app stuffs. Paul, hello.
Well, Paul, thank you for once again coming on for the It's Usually Hello podcast.
No bother. Cheers.
And this is going to be it's yet another band countdown, and for a massive change. It's a band that's from back in the 80s/90s called the Manic Street Preachers.
Yeah.
So, what's your level of Manic's fandom?
The Manics have always been a constant for me. Even I didn't get into them until after, they were, whenever they got big, around sort of Everything Must Go era. Obviously, they started to get big then, but whenever you go back years later, whenever I started getting into them more, my favorite album of theirs is one of their, it's like their third album, The Holy Bible, and it's a masterpiece. Like, I mean, if no one's heard it, check it out. Seriously, it's unbelievably good. It's really, it was kind of the last album before Richie disappeared and stuff. So it's kind of heavy, but it's so good, really good. Like,
have you guys seen them live much?
Yeah, I've seen them. Actually, they played at that big weekend in Belfast last summer. Seen them at that; they were great. Although Nicky Wire wasn't there, he couldn't play because of some family issues or something. But yeah, I think I've seen them another time somewhere along the line. Yeah, they're good, always good. Like,
yeah, I was at that biggest weekend last year, and that was the first time I'd ever seen the Manics.
Wow, yeah.
Because every other time I'd wanted to go, I was either going to be in Dublin the day they were in Belfast, or at a wedding the morning after, or I had to go to a funeral, like some selfish.
I didn't really get the link or something, but then it does make sense though, because if you listen to their first album, Generation Terrorists, it's very like LA rock kind of 80s, coming in off the 80s. That was like the early 90s they released that, so it doesn't make, it's not too much of a stretch for them to be supporting someone like Bon Jovi, you know what I mean? Because their older stuff is quite, that similar kind of stuff, you know.
Plus, like, as much as I love the Manics, like, they have depth in the size of the venues they're playing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So like they're not an arena band anymore, and not many people are buying their albums. So I get them going for the money, like they might as well.
Yeah, yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, there were. That's a good thing about them as well. I always appreciated that they have morals, and they're like they have a real kind of attitude where they didn't want to play the game. You know, they didn't really break America, and they were cool with that. You know what I mean? They were supposed to actually support Oasis on their American tour, and obviously that went really well, like 95 or something, 94. But like, yeah, they're not I think they're happy doing what they're doing, and they've always kind of had my respect for that. You know what I mean? They've never sold out, in my opinion, either. So it's cool.
And James Dean Bradfield, like his voice it's the fact that it's not spoken about more amazes me, because it hasn't aged at all.
Oh yeah, great vocalist. Yeah, I mean he's I think obviously after Richie disappeared, and then Nicky Wire obviously still writes lyrics and all, but James Dean Bradfield kind of chipped in with his own stuff. But he's not talked about enough, as you say, as a vocalist. Yeah, his range is really good. Like, and I was listening to some live stuff of them earlier, and yeah, he kicks ass, doesn't he? Like,
he does kick ass, and apparently he's actually pretty hard in real life.
Well, I wouldn't mess on.
Shall we jump right in to the debate?
Let's go.
Okay, so what have you got in there at number 5?
In at number 5 for me, from their first album, Generation Terrace, Little Baby Nothing. It's an interesting song because it's kind of I think there's only this one and maybe one or two other tracks. It's kind of like melancholic and doesn't fit in with the rest of the album, which is kind of nice. It's interesting as well. No, with the sort of have the female vocalist is in it as well. Like, kind of, it's a good sort of between hers and James Dean Bradfield's voices. It's nice. It gives it like a real kind of poppy edge, but it's a bit of a sad-ish song as well. You know, the lyrics in it, they're like, I guess it's taken from the perspective of like a woman who is sort of used by men and all that kind of stuff. So it's lyrically a bit heavy, but it's a really nice song, and nice guitars, and the production on that album's really good as well. Obviously, I was talking about that kind of LA rock kind of sound that Manics wanted to go for in their first album because they loved Guns N' Roses and all, and obviously they had this whole mantra that they were like, oh, we're going to release the first album and we're going to break up after that, and you know, if bands don't do that, they're wrong. But obviously that didn't happen. It's a good thing it didn't happen, like, but yeah, it's cool.
But the thing is, would you agree that when the Manics came out, they were more, not that I think they got better as they went on, but they were more like rock starry fun at the start? Like, they would dress all weird and
oh yeah, well, there was all that. There was kind of like glam and like punk influences. I know they loved the Clash and stuff, and James Dean Bradfield loved Joe Strummer and whatever. And yeah, they had that, you know, like makeup, and you know, that was all that goes hand in hand with, you know, that kind of like 80s rock thing that they wanted to go for. And then they did evolve and change a bit more, and they become a bit more normal looking, I suppose you might say. Like Nicky Wire kind of carried it through. He was still wearing dresses in the 90s, like, but
and ironically, the Manics supported Guns N' Roses on tour last summer around Europe.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
You go where the cashola is, you see.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, at number 5, I'm going to go with, my list might seem a bit strange to some people, but at number 5, I'm going with International Blue.
Nice.
From the recent album, Resistance is Futile. But see, the thing about this song is that I've always been a Manics fan, but after, what's the one, I can't remember the name of it now. You know the way they did This Is My Truth, Tell Me Yours?
Yeah.
And
The
then,
one, the one after that,
yeah.
Know Your Enemy. That's what it was. Know Your Enemy, 2001.
No,
And then they had the other one after that, Lifeblood or something. Yeah.
but it seemed to be after Know Your Enemy, they did the mistake that Ocean Colour Scene did, where they had like a big hit album or like a series of hit albums and then kind of a underperformer.
Yeah.
So they started churning them out and another album and another, and it was like every 12 months there was a new Manics album where you're kind of like, I've not even listened to these songs.
Yeah. I know that very prolific, you know what I mean? At the start they had like the first three albums were kind of one after the like 92, 93, 94, and then I think Everything Must Go was like maybe 95, 96. So they were really, you know, prolific for a while. A couple of years break between in the like sort of mid 2000s, I think. But yeah, they've been at it for a while.
Yeah, because the thing is, because they were putting out all these albums, and not that they were bad, it didn't have bad songs on them, but the public interest just wasn't there, and they were sort of slipping down the bills on festivals. Like when we seen them in Belfast last year, they were third on the bill, and I couldn't believe that because I love Beck and I love Underworld, or not Underworld, Orbital. But the fact that the Manics was like third on the bill, I couldn't believe that.
You think they should have been higher up?
I would have had them headlining, honestly.
Yeah, no, I mean anybody that I talked to that was there were just like, yeah, they were great, you know. And I was intoxicated at the time, but I still enjoyed myself. It was rather good.
Yeah, and this song, International Blue, like when Manics would have new stuff out, I would always be like, I'll check it out, but I just hope to play like the classics.
Yeah.
But when I heard this song, this blew my mind away. It was like instantly on first hearing it, I was like, this is one of the best songs they've ever done.
Yeah, well, it's definitely it's a great track. I mean, it does sort of hark back to their kind of mid-90s period, like that, the kind of swooping guitar thing that he has and the strings and all. It's really great track.
And off a great album too. Like it was such a comeback, and they're back up again, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, although I mean, there's only maybe a couple of albums of theirs that I wouldn't be like overly keen on, but I think they're a pretty prolific band, like, you know.
Which can be a negative though, because it's like are you a fan of Prince?
Yeah, a wee bit. Yeah, I'm not a massive fan, but I do like Prince. Yeah.
But like if you went to go buy his album, I think he's got something like 26 albums.
Yeah.
And it's too much, and you can't really expect anyone to get into it apart from like the greatest hits and stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, I know that's the thing. Like, people usually get in through greatest hits, and then, although if I'm getting into someone, I usually go for like a review of their best album, and then I'll try and get into that, you know. But yeah, everyone makes their own mind up about their favorite stuff, you know.
Like Bucks Fizz says.
Indeed.
So what have you got there hanging at number 4?
Number 4 is a great one for me. It's from Know Your Enemy in 2001. It's So Why So Sad.
Love
it. This is real. It sort of reminds me of, like, I don't know, I think of the Beach Boys or something when I hear this track in a way, but like they make it their own, obviously.
I'm literally about to say that.
Yeah, but there's just something about it. I've always clung on to this one as one of my favorite songs. I haven't heard them play it live. I don't know if they played it. Did they play it at the gig in Belfast? I don't know. Probably not. But it's just really cool. I love the production in it, and the video was interesting from what I recall. Like, kind of sort of soldiers running about on a beach, bombs flying around, stuff like that. Also, a cool kind of wee instrument that's in the track. I believe it's called a stylophone. There's like a wee sort of bit that's like going towards the end of the track, and I've got a wee styrophone right here. If you wanna. Yeah, something like that.
Nice.
But yeah, it's class. I love that song. It's beaut.
But the thing I love about this song is that it shows you how great of singers they actually are. Like their harmonies and stuff are brilliant.
Yeah, quality. Yeah.
And you're spot on. It's flipped there about the effing Beach Boys, big lad.
Yep. Yeah. You reckon?
Oh yeah, I love it, especially when they go into the second verse.
Yeah.
You know, backing vocals kick in. That I love that.
Yeah.
Well, at number 4, I'm going to go with another fairly recent one because it's called "Walk Me to the Bridge" from the album. Well, I think it's from "Walk Me to the Bridge." And the thing about this one is, again, as I say, with modern Manics, because they were churning out so many albums back to back, I just wasn't listening. But since then, I've started to sort of go back and re-listen to these albums and realize that while they're not exactly, 5-star must-own classics, there's still a lot of great.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's off one of their recent albums. Then I'm not overly familiar with that. I must admit.
I think
good.
I think it's from their last
Futurology or something. Is it?
It might be, yeah.
That was before.
This was before they started doing like the anniversary tours and all.
Oh yeah.
But it's a banging banger that just bangs.
like Ricky Martin on MTV.
He ripped that off from Noel Gallagher with Holy Mountain.
Yeah, we all know that. Didn't want to bring it up, but
And I gotta say it, living La Vida Loca, it's not awful.
It's not awful. It's Spare to Wear.
Yes.
This one's brilliant. It's the main guitar riff in this track is so good. It was actually, I was kind of debating whether to put it higher up the list, but whatever. It starts off real like soft vocal from James Dean Bradfield, and then when the guitar and drums kick in, it's like yes, it just like absolutely rocks, and then and that's kind of like a constant almost throughout the song. Real nice organ sort of playing in it as well. Yeah, it's great.
What's that opening line again? I ride
this alone in my bed. Poison every room in the house. Yes.
And why I always remember this song? Because this was from the Britpop era, and that's when I was actually happy.
Yeah.
Because I felt like it fit in. Because I've totally kissed loads of girls since then. I don't care what rumors you've heard. I kissed a girl. Of course. But yeah, and I never stopped watching that show because of what was her name, Mandy or something.
Samantha Janus.
Yeah.
Janus.
Yeah. Anus. And she was so cracker, and she was always wearing like the short skirts and the legs, and her body was always showing off. But on top of that, it's actually funny. And there was an episode where the guy kept playing this song on a loop. Mm-hmm. So every time I hear this, it reminds me of being a wee nerdy geek. Well, I am still one, but of being a wee nerdy virgin boy thinking about arses.
Yeah, well, that's I remember that. That's actually maybe where I heard it first. Yeah.
Well, in number 3, I'm gonna go with an old one. It's called Faster.
Ooh.
Now, I don't actually have this one on album. I got this from the Forever Delayed Greatest Hits collection, and I've got to say, really had never listened to it all that much until when I went to see the Manics last year, biggest weekend, and they played Faster. I think it was like the 3rd or 2nd song in, and it made me realize.
It's fantastic. I mean, anybody that is like a real fan of the Manics, you know, would probably have this song in their top 10 at least. I would say, like, you know, it just kicks ass, doesn't it? You know, it just everything about it's good, in my opinion. And I mean, amazingly, they had the audacity to you ever see that Top of the Pops performance? They did a Faster, and they turned up wearing the balaclavas and all, like, so good, amazing, like.
I've hit my knee off the side of this desk at the exact same point at least 4 times.
You're hiding it well, though.
It hurts like
anything.
Fuck. I'm a tough guy, but yeah, no, I remember this being on Top of the Pops, and I just thought, oh, there's those guys from up the street again.
Yeah.
How did those gobshites get on the television?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, it's great. It's from the best album as well, the Holy Bible. That's what's that? That's off. But yeah, it just kicks ass so much.
You know, and the thing as well, it's great about it is the fact that they're still playing it as it was recorded.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of bands who on their early stuff put out like kind of heavy or harder shit. All that, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. I said they don't really play any of the first album running or like really early stuff. No.
Well, they play Seek and Destroy. They always play that, but apart from like a lot of the really heavy stuff, it's like, I hope you fucking bought the live album because they're not coming out ever again.
Yeah.
So what did you get in there? Number 2 is the greatest Manic song of all time.
Well, number 2, you ruined it there. Number 2, my number 2 is Faster. From the Holy Bible, 1994. I know we touched on it a few times, but honestly, if no one's heard this album, even just out of curiosity, if you are a Fairweather Manics fan, seriously, give it a listen because it is their masterpiece, really. The reason that like a song we've talked about it already, it's just it's really like angry, but it's you know, it's like a good rock stompy, you know, fast rock song. The lyrics are like so angry, and he just spits them out. I am an architect. Yeah, it's great. It's so amazing.
And the thing is, despite the fact that it's heavy, it's actually surprisingly easy to sing along to.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, aye. Yeah, definitely. There's nothing bad about it. I'm trying to think. I mean, I wish I had it playing right now.
At number 2, mate, I've got a great song for you, mate. Australia.
Yeah, nice.
This song, I loved it for so long, and this probably would have been my number 1. But the problem being is that lazy marketing people have done this to death with the tourist ads.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it's unfortunate.
And the sad thing is, they turned a classic song into kind of a cheesy one.
Yeah.
And it's like it's the same if like I don't know if you're an REM fan, but when
Yeah. No, yeah, Australia's a great track. It's very 90s, isn't it? There's something about it. And it really belongs in that kind of time. It doesn't stick out or anything. But I never really associate the Manics with Britpop. You know, that's they're sort of, they were always a wee bit I don't want to say smart, but you know, they weren't kind of like, they didn't get dragged into that. You know, they always seemed like they were on the outside to me. You know what I mean? And that was cool. I think that's a good thing. You know, and they had cool lyrics, and they were a bit. You know, it took a bit of, you know, delving into. You know, when I bought the first couple of Manic's albums, I was like, wow, reading these lyrics, and they're like, what? This is crazy.
This one also has the great harmony thing where they go, Australia, ooh,
Yeah.
Australia, and then they're all just harmonizing, and it's like, this is great. And off, I know it's a lazy answer to choose, but my favorite album of theirs is Everything Must Go.
No, it's a great album. Yeah, of course. There's well, Everything Must Go. This is My Truth and the Holy Bible. They're probably my favorite albums. Like, but as I said earlier as well, there's maybe only like, I think Gold Against the Soul is probably, and even the band admitted it themselves, like that's probably their least favorite album, and it's a bit patchy, like, because it was coming off the back of the first album whenever they said that they were gonna like break up anyway, and then I think it's a wee bit confused. But yeah, no, Everything Must Go was great. It's amazing album.
Would you like to know what my favorite Manic Street Preachers album is?
Yeah,
I would have to say The Best of the Manic Street Preachers.
Oh,
What did they get in it? Number one is the all-time greatest Manic Street Preachers song of all time this week.
All right then. This is a wee bit of a mouthful. From the Holy Bible. The song is, "If white America told the truth for one day, its world would fall apart." This song is basically, I whenever I first got the Holy Bible, I got it because I'd already been a fan of the Manics, and then I got it because this was like, people, I read those interviews, and the band were all saying, "Oh, you know, this is our favorite album that we've done," and all. And I listened to it, and the first, you know, couple of times you're like, "Wow, it's a bit mad," and I don't really, you know, it's all a bit sort of crazy and stuff. But this song, whenever I first put it on, there's a lot of like samples in this album at the start of the tracks, and it's I think it's like what do you call him? I can't remember his name, but he, like, it's from that George Orwell like a reinterpretation of one of his things, and then the song kicks in, and it's kind of, it reminds me of like if you could imagine like a metal band playing this or something, but it's like an indie band, but like this song, like in terms of like its lyrics and all, are a bit it's not like, apparently Nicky Wire, it seems like it's like an anti-American song, but Nicky Wire was all like, no, it's not. It's more like, you know, a commentary on like you know, like right wing sort of totalitarianism or whatever, and you know, like kind of, you know, how corporate the world is and all that sort of stuff. But like, apart from that, as I say, the music for it's great. It has like a really kind of interesting like chorus in it as well, and I just it's still stuck with me all this time. You know, after hearing it like what 15 odd years ago, and yeah, it's still probably my favorite of their songs. It's great.
I don't think I've ever actually heard this song.
Yeah, well, I mean, you probably it's yeah, you should hear it. Get it in your ear holes. It's great.
It's because of titles like that, you know, as you say about Wardy, it puts them off, and plus,
Yeah.
and plus, as you know, I've been a long time hardworking member of the clan.
Indeed. Well, I know the kind of title is a bit mad in itself, but I think they were trying to make a statement. They didn't want to just come out with something like if white America told the truth. You know, they wanted to put it all in one big mad spiel to make it kind of a bit mental, and the whole thing about that period as well. Like most of the lyrics were written by Richie Edwards, and Nicky Wire wrote I think he said he wrote like sort of a few titles here and there and some lyrics, but Richie came up with it with the whole concept of the artwork and all the sleeve notes and all the like imagery that was in it and all that, because he was a kind of he seemed like an interesting character. I think he gave the Manics in the early years a lot of their juice, if you like, you know, and a lot of their political sort of stance and whatever, like, but they carried it through. And it was interesting reading a thing about James Dean Bradfield was saying there's a couple of times he had to do like edits on, because obviously he in the early days he just used to write the music, and he Nicky Wire and Richie would give him the lyrics, and James Dean Bradfield was like, oh, you know, I had to do a few edits on things because and the Holy Bible, there's another song, it's pretty much about like I don't know, it's like Holocaust sort of stuff, and it's a bit the lads writing the lyrics, and then James and the drummer doing the music for the stuff. Yeah, cool.
I wonder if Richie Manic ever thought that James Dean Bradfield would one day be covering Last Christmas on TFI Friday.
Yeah, I know.
Which, by the way, actually made my list of top 10 greatest Christmas songs.
Really? Oh yeah.
They're brilliant.
Where was it?
I would say it's between 1 to 10.
Okay.
Well, you mentioned tough titles, and my number one title, and this isn't going to go well after my KKK joke. And number one, my all-time favorite Manic Street Preachers song of all times from the Futurology album, Europa Gech Durch Mich.
Nice. I was actually listening to that today. That's a good song.
It's such a it reminds me of like 70s boy.
Okay, yeah.
Like from the Low era, or from like when U2. In fact, you know what? It's like that Berlin sort of sound.
Yeah.
Because when U2 did the early 90s stuff, and it just sounds very like not Nine Inch Nails, but very studio-ish, if that makes sense.
Like produced or something, or like.
Yeah.
I guess in that album there's a lot of interesting sounds, isn't there? Like, I mean, a lot of kind of they did a lot of effects with the drums and stuff, and like wee keyboardy things. Like, yeah. I haven't really overly listened to it, but from what I've heard, it sounds pretty interesting. Like,
yeah.
But,
it's just one of those songs that I think it was like the great song that came out at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Because Manics are now considered legends, and they're at this really weird stage of life where, like, no matter what they write, no one cares anymore, really.
Yeah.
Because it's like, and I know you're a huge fan, Duran, right? They had a new album that came out about 2 or 3 years ago, and they wrote this new song with Nile Rodgers called Pressure Off. and it's genuinely great, but no one's ever going to give a shit. Yeah, because and then the Manics have got to this thing, and the same with Depeche Mode, where it's like, even though they still like Depeche Mode still makes great albums, but it's like no one cares. It's like, nope.
Yeah.
We've got 2 decades of stuff. That's what we're staying with. We don't need another decade. And it's like,
yeah.
And that's what I think is the sad situation. You know, sad. Why so sad?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. I don't know about you, like, but I was kind of picking the list anyway. It was difficult because there's so many songs that, you know, you left out, and I mean, honorable mentions can go to loads of songs. Like, there's loads of like recent singles as well that were great. Like, have you heard that song Jackie Collins' "Existential Question Time" by the Manics? It's so good. Like that whole album, A Journal for Plague Lovers. That was like, I think a lot of the lyrics from that one again came from like Richie's notes from him or something. But yeah, and then like even that one they did with the chick out of the Cardigans, you know, that song "Your Love Alone Is Not Enough." That's a good track too. Like,
love it.
Yeah, there's so many, you know what I mean? That I mean, they've they got like 12 or 13 albums throughout their career, like, so it's real prolific band, yeah.
And the thing is, it's weird about them is that with most bands, I get bored of the hits. Like when I go see Oasis, I don't want to hear Wonderwall. And with U2, I don't want to hear any Joshua Tree stuff because I've heard it a million times. But when I go see the Manics, I still love hearing like Motorcycle Emptiness. Still love hearing A Design for Life. Do you want to know why? Because we too only want to get drunk.
Oh, we love
that was class.
Okay, thank you, Paul. And now for Perez Hilton again. Now, here's the thing about this Perez Hilton clip. When we recorded that interview before, there was a mistake that went on, and there was an audio problem, and that only like about 70% of the audio somehow came onto the show, and we don't know why that happened. So now what we're doing is we've been able to go back to the full raw audio file, which we're now going to put the whole thing on this episode of the podcast. So this is not a new Perez Hilton interview. This is the same one, unedited in total. And for all the YouTube moaners who complain about censorship, just to get you to shut your annoying, boring, repetitive mouths, this whole interview isn't going to be censored at all. And it's a taste of what you can get if you click on the links to the other streaming sites where you can download the podcast. And I say it all the time, and I have to keep saying it because nobody listens. Perez, hello again.
Can you understand my accent okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I just want to thank you so much for doing this, by the way.
You're welcome.
Because you've actually been kind of infamous here in Ireland ever since Celebrity Big Brother.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah. But I'm just going to ask you a few questions it's only going to take about 4 hours, and then I'll let you get back to it, you know?
Sounds good.
Okay, so obviously, Perez, like, you're sort of famous for starting off as being a journalist. But recently you've moved into podcasting as well as journalism. So tell me, how are you finding the whole difference between journalism compared to podcasting?
Well, I do many different things, and I think that is, for me, and from what I've observed throughout history, a really important thing if you want to have longevity. I think everybody all over the world knew Joan Rivers, and she did so many different things throughout her career, from stand-up comedy to acting to being a director to being a screenwriter to selling jewelry to fashion commentary, red carpet hosting, and so much more. So as the years have gone on, I have not gotten lazier. In fact, I have been working harder and harder. I now only get about 5 hours of sleep on an average night, and I just do more and more and more. I've got 3 kids. I support my mom. I've got my website. I've got 2 YouTube channels. I go out on auditions to try to do acting things, and I have my own podcast as well. And I love doing it all because I still, 15 years later, love what I do. And I feel so immensely grateful that I am able to make a living and have it be my full-time profession, doing what started off as a hobby. And with the podcast specifically, I thoroughly enjoy it because I have a co-host, and I think he makes me better than, the YouTube videos where I'm just by myself talking about all of this stuff. And it's great to really be able to go in depth on any particular topic in the podcast in a way that podcasting lends itself to that, because every other medium or platform, it's more about like, okay, quick, as quick as possible, and let's move on. But a podcast, I don't even like drinking wine, but a podcast is kind of like drinking wine. You savor it and you let it linger.
Oh, yeah. But and also, would you agree that podcasting helps people with their communication skills?
No, because I listen to a lot of podcasts, or I wouldn't say I listen to them. I browse a lot of podcasts because I like to know what other people are doing. And there are some really awful podcast hosts out there. Everybody can have a podcast, but not everybody can have a good podcast. I think that you either have that in you or you don't. And clearly, the more you do something, hopefully the better you get at it. So if you're just starting out, you may suck. But if you've been doing your podcast for a while, whomever you are, I'm not talking about you, hopefully you've improved with time. I like to think that I have. And, like my co-host and I, our rapport, the relationship we have has only gotten better.
Yeah, but I think, because I heard you on the Adam Corolla show the other day, and I'm a fan of him, but he has a real habit of stepping all over people. But I thought you held your own really well with Adam Corolla.
Well, thankfully, I don't have guests on my podcast. It's just my co-host and I. So we don't have to worry about that. And it's kind of fun to step on him.
He needs to be stepped on the odd time, really. But let me ask you this, Perez. Do you feel like the word celebrity, it's almost become like the new C word? Like it's kind of, when you hear it, it makes you go, ugh.
No, man, I think it's awesome. And I think it's very aspirational for a lot of people. I think it's one of the reasons why Instagram is so popular, because it makes the C word accessible. And so many people can achieve at least Instagram fame by luck or ease, and some through hard work these days. And with that comes a ton of things.
But one of the things, it's one of the big celebrity stories at the minute that I'd love to talk to you about is because you're always pretty honest and forthcoming with your opinions and takes on stuff. The R. Kelly thing.
Yeah.
Now, we don't have to go into detail about the accusations because we don't want to fucking throw up all over ourselves. But people such as Jay-Z and Lady Gaga, they worked with him years after these accusations were already known. But now in 2019, they're playing innocent. So what's your take on that?
Well, I actually just sent out a tweet linking to an article that I wrote on my website, because Celine Dion, who worked with R. Kelly back in, I believe, 1999, and back then, let's give her the benefit of the doubt that she probably even had no idea who R. Kelly was when she worked with him. Celine probably was like, okay, my label says I should do this, let me do it. But somebody like Jay-Z worked with him in the 2000s, and we all knew then. And also, he released 2 joint albums with R. Kelly, not just a song, 2 full albums. And to me, Jay-Z's silence is glaring. But Celine just pulled down the song that she worked with R. Kelly from all streaming platforms, which is also something that Lady Gaga did as well. She's removed her song with R. Kelly from all streaming providers.
Well, that's got to be extra weird for Celine Dion, because there was all those accusations about her and her husband.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know the details of when they started dating. I know he was her manager when she was really young, but I'm not sure. I think only the 2 of them know when that turned romantic. But I don't know.
It's a seedy world, and I hope that I just can't believe R. Kelly's been getting along with this for as long as he has. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, somebody sent a tweet to me. Let me read it. This is what somebody just tweeted me earlier today. R. Kelly has been a major issue for years. The fact that this stuff is only being pulled now because of a TV special is very disingenuous. #virtue signal. First of all, I hate that term virtue signal or virtue signaling. It's just so ridiculously stupid. Secondly, I don't care why justice or karma is being served. What I care about is that it is happening, and better to have happened than not. There are some people that can go through their whole lives buying their way out of justice, silencing accusers by throwing enough money at them, whatever it may be. But thankfully, that does not seem to be the case anymore with R. Kelly.
I'm just glad that and not to come across like a dick, but when his when he tried to claim, say, they're coming after me because I'm a black man, I love the fact that a lot of people just said, no, it's actually because you had sex with kids.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Perez, because you mentioned it earlier on. It's something that you do YouTube, but do you think that YouTube actually does more damage than good?
No, I think YouTube is amazing, and I think that it is one of the other keys to longevity. Things come and go. What's hot is not, and what's not can be hot again. I've been in this industry now, like I said, 15 years. But what YouTube allows is for people to make a real connection with their audience. When you see somebody and you hear them and you know that they're being authentic, that resonates. Because I don't know how sustainable some of these very popular Instagrammers will be. For example, like if you are a girl and you just post hot bikini photos, there are a ton of Instagram girls, hundreds, if not thousands, that post hot bikini photos that have millions of followers. And the guys that follow them may grow tired of them, this, that, the other. But if you're able to become more than just, if you're able to be a 3-dimensional human being and your audience sees that, then I think they will grow with you.
But then you get people like that arsehole Logan Paul or whatever, Paul Logan, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Like,
well, he's a human being and he's making mistakes. I'm not a fan of his. I don't appreciate him at all. But if he's able to grow and evolve and mature and change over time, then he will have longevity. If he keeps doing the same shtick over and over and over again, then people will stop caring. That's just what happens.
Well, I hope to stop caring very, very fast with him. I'm not a fan of him and his hair and his mouth and all that shit. But
well, I've stopped caring a little bit because his views are down on Instagram. I mean, on YouTube.
Well, good. I maybe, like, to be honest, I'm very much stuck in the past. Like, I'm wearing a Def Leppard t-shirt right now as I'm talking to you, but I just don't see the attraction to it. But let me ask you this: over Christmas, just before Christmas, Demi Lovato, the singer, she went into rehab again for she relapsed with drugs, and there was a photograph of her going around Christmas time, New Year's Eve, where it looked like she was drinking a glass of wine or a champagne or something. Do you think that maybe she was too quick to claim being an addict?
Well, that ended up being apple cider, which is non-alcoholic apple cider. And I wish her well. I mean, I actually spoke about it on my podcast or somewhere that I don't feel very optimistic for Demi this year, but I hope I'm wrong, just because she's been repeatedly clapping back, as they say, on social media against haters. And I think, she should almost get off social media or turn the comments off or just ignore the negative things that people say, because I don't know if that really contributes to her sobriety in any way.
Do you think that there's been a bit of a, I wouldn't even call it a witch hunt, but it's more like people are taking less shit from comedians these days? Just,
I'm not a huge fan of this new trend of old things that people say coming back to haunt you. Clearly there's also a difference between, well, and the weird thing is that then the line becomes blurred. Like Kevin Hart made a lot of headlines with the Oscars and everything going on there, but he was being criticized for some tweets, which, they just seemed like thoughts. They weren't necessarily jokes, and they were really violent about his son. I mean, personally, society seems to be wanting to correct itself or, fix issues from the past. And if it overcorrects, better than not correcting itself at all, I would say.
What do you think about the kind of outcry against Louis C.K., though?
I think a lot of people have multiple valid arguments against him, especially all of the women that he admitted to exposing himself to without permission. He came back recently and went back to stand up, and a lot of people took issue with the humor that he came back with. It's almost like, he lost it all. He wants to purposely be as offensive as possible. But that's his choice. It's also my choice not to see Louis C.K. perform a stand-up or watch anything he does.
Yeah, for me, I just think it's insane that it's taken this long for like this kind of a backlash to start on him, because not to be like a comedy nerd, but he did this special years ago called Chewed Up, and his opening routine is about how he loves to say the N-word and the homophobic F-word. And the fact that it's taken all this time for now it's a problem, it's insane.
Yeah, I mean, and it's still going on. There's still tons of issues, and it's probably even worse in some regular folk areas of work.
Oh, big time. But let me ask you this question about Pete Davidson. And by the way, just to say, I think one of the most offensive things Kevin Hart ever did was refer to himself as a comedian. I don't get him either. But the thing about Pete Davidson is, right, so this is a guy who's talking about being depressed and stuff, right? But then we see him out partying in Hollywood at night. Like, do you think that his depression might be for real?
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't think you would tweet that you don't want to be on this planet anymore if you aren't serious. I mean, maybe somebody might do that for attention, but there are so many other things that you could do for attention. I think that him being vocal about his mental health issues truly was both healing or attempting to be healing for him, and also hopefully to be able to help others as well.
Well, I tell you what, if being depressed helps you get with Kate Beckinsale, then please give me some grey clouds. So let me ask you another one I love to talk about is Judd Apatow. Now, I love him and I love his films and I think he's hilarious, but I've noticed with Judd, he seems to have a problem with a lot of celebrities after the scandal has broken. Like, he doesn't like Louis C.K. now. And obviously he hated Bill Cosby after all those horrible crimes came out. And according to Judd Apatow, he said he knew all along about the kind of person Bill Cosby was. But if you look at the film Funny People he did, there's actually at one point there's a shrine to Bill Cosby on the wall.
Oh. I've really followed. I mean, I'm aware of Judd Apatow and I'm sure I've seen his work, but I don't follow him as closely as you do.
So that's because you probably have a life and friends.
I've got kids. They keep me real busy.
How many times have you seen Moana?
A few times, yeah. Thankfully, it's still on Netflix.
And thankfully, it's actually brilliant, because a lot of the kids' films are absolute shite. But let me ask you a question as well, because this is something that kind of gets to me. When they talk about the Hollywood pay gap, the gender pay gap. But then if you look at somebody like Jennifer Lawrence, in nearly everything she's in, she's getting paid the most. So isn't it really just more of a case of having the best agent or the better negotiation skills?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I do believe that some people should get paid more. Like The Rock is getting paid a lot more than Emily Blunt to star in Disney's upcoming Jungle Cruise movie, and I think he deserves that. He's a box office draw in a different way that Emily Blunt is not.
But also, I think she probably made made her contract a little early. Like, if she'd have made that deal after A Quiet Place, she'd probably be getting the same, because last year The Rock had he had Rampage and Skyscraper come out, and neither of them were giant hits.
Well, Jumanji also came out last year, and that one was a giant hit.
That is very true. I can't believe I forgot about that. I just watched it the other day, and Jumanji's brilliant.
It was. I really enjoyed it. I saw it in the theaters.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though, about a lot of the pay gap stuff. Like, I do think that there should be equal pay, and I think that me and you should be getting the pay as Oprah Winfrey.
I wish.
Well, Perez, I want to thank you for your time, and we've just come to the final two questions, and these are like the traditional final two questions I ask people.
All right.
So here's the first one, and this one has started arguments almost between guests. So here's the first question: who's the better band, Queen or the Beatles?
I would say the Beatles, just because they had more hits. So just by sheer volume.
I'm sorry, that's the incorrect answer. The correct answer was Queen.
Well, I would say that Queen was, well, you know what? No, I still stand by that. Queen was very adventurous, but also the Beatles were also very adventurous too. I mean, they had so many albums, and a lot of their albums were very pushing the envelope.
I suppose, but then again, yeah, but I just don't. I just think Freddie Mercury would be the ultimate drinking partner for a night out. Like, he just looked like the most fun guy of all time.
He was something.
And the final question, Prez, before I let you go back to watching Moana and Jumanji 2. Now, this is the big question, and everything relies on this answer. So, your fan base, your success, the podcast, the website, it could all end as you give the wrong answer to this. So, here we go. The Spice Girls are back. Who's your favorite Spice Girl?
It's changed. My favorite Spice Girl used to be Ginger Spice back in the day. But my favorite Spice Girl now, I would say, is Sporty Spice.
Oh, no. You're so close. The correct answer was Baby Spice. Baby Spice is best.
I do love Emma. I love them all. I'm a Spice boy.
So am I. I was planning. Me and a couple of the guys were planning to go this summer, but we couldn't go because it's happening too close to this Metallica concert we're going to. So we could never make both.
Oh gosh, Metallica or the Spice Girls? I say do both.
No, I can't do two concerts these days. I'm only 34, but on the inside, I'm approaching 70. But hey, listen, Perez, thank you so much for doing this, yeah?
My pleasure. Have a good day. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. It was great to talk to you.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you again, Perez. But remember, if you run the Patreon, you'd have got that uncut anyway. So what's the problem? Up next is Danny Ross. Now, who's Danny Ross? You say, well, Danny Ross is the host of the podcast Pancake House, but he's also the producer, or should I say, the former producer of Opie and Anthony. Now, it's a pretty controversial relationship with the guy. It was a pretty controversial show. So Danny's on talking about, so Danny's on talking about his solo podcasting career, about how irritating pop culture can be, about dealing with O&A fans, about O&A's legacy, about a certain goof called Saiyan Z, who, by the way, interesting fact about Saiyan Z is he can't fight at all. I've kicked his arse many, many times, and I'll do it again, and I'm going to. So Danny, thanks for taking the time. Hello.
Well, hey, Danny Ross, thanks very much for coming on the podcast here.
You got it. How you doing, Hughezy?
Awful. Couldn't be worse. But talk to me, because you've got a podcast yourself called Pancakes House.
A little bit.
So tell me what you go through or what it's like for you as setting up a podcast. Because for those who may or may not know, Danny, of course, used to be the producer of Opie and Anthony, and now you've spun off into your own show. So tell me about what it's like starting that up.
Well, I mean, it's helpful to just know all of your equipment and software. So, coming out of radio, I didn't really have to do a lot of research to figure out, what to do and how to get what I wanted. I think the hardest part was probably just kind of teaching myself like Adobe Premiere Pro, like the video editing aspect of it. I'm not green screening or anything. I was just kind of putting clips together, but even still, it does become quite time consuming, and you do need to kind of figure out a system of organization for yourself. So that was something that was new for me. That wasn't part of the radio experience.
And that's one of the things that really does my head in, because it's so easier nowadays. Because I actually went to school, like film school, and back then the idea of being able to film stuff was almost like a fantasy idea. But now I've got a 4K HD camera on my phone.
Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous.
It's like my camera is better quality than The Dark Knight Rises. Put it like that.
Yeah, I mean, anybody could just make videos these days. It's kind of why I kind of stopped doing the show in the first place, because it was just like, for the amount of work that goes into it, and you're constantly fighting like copyright claims if you're using like a 2-second clip from somebody, like even a trailer. Like I tried using a clip of a Deadpool trailer. Like it was a trailer, dude. Like how can I not use that? And it wasn't very long at all. It was just a couple of seconds, and like I was fighting that every day to get like 600 hits on a video, and it's just like, why am I putting 30 hours of work into this? Like it's really just not conducive to my time.
Yeah, but that's why for me we've got this thing because I'm part of a network, and they've got the legal side of it down to the T, and because for my podcast I cover all different kind of like music and sports and film topics all in one, I can legally get away with using them.
Well, I mean, I should be legally, getting away with it too, because in the States we have something called the Fair Use Act, and that basically states that as long as I'm not taking away from you monetarily in any way, and there's no way that somebody could mistake what I'm doing for your product, then I have a legal right to use that in specific situations. One of which being like review or educational purposes, which is what I feel like my videos were. Like if I'm doing a thing about They Live, no one's ever going to confuse my video with the actual product of They Live. So, if I monetize my channel, like there's no way I'm taking, if anything, I'm just helping you out, because people might come across my video and go, oh, what's this movie? And now they go and buy it, or they go and seek it out and they purchase it in some fashion. So, the YouTube copyright claim system is a whole different animal in itself. So, but it's definitely one of the reasons that's kind of discouraging for new content creators, I guess, because it's if you haven't already made it, you're not going to, basically.
Have you heard about the latest scandal that's happened but the latest issue that's happened in the UK regarding YouTube?
No, I don't think so.
Well, there was a guy, I don't know, I can't remember his name, just say it was Steve Cups or whatever, and he had a channel where he would expose child predators and stuff. And
okay.
YouTube shut his account down, despite the fact that he was doing all this good stuff, and they shut his account down because he always wore Adidas in his videos. So they said it was unlawful product placement.
No, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that story, but I hear ridiculous YouTube stories every single day. So that really doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, but tell me, so when your podcast, as you mentioned, like it was kind of about pop culture and stuff, but do you ever get the feeling that nerds ruin pop culture for everyone?
I mean, I guess it depends on what your definition of like nerd is, because I know it's fairly vague these days, and I can't stand people, like because they've seen, Star Wars, they're like, oh, I'm such a nerd, I like Star. It's just like, dude, it's part of pop culture. It's just like, do you understand? You can't be a nerd with something that's part of pop culture. So you can't be a nerd and be into Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't work that way. You can't be a nerd and be into superhero movies, because that's the norm. It's complete. It's pop. It's pop. It's pop movies. It's pop TV. There's nothing weird or strange about that. That's, going to make somebody go, oh, you're a nerd. It's completely ingrained in popular culture.
But it's like, it's one of the things that a nerd would be like with these.
I think what you really want to say is fanboy.
I should have said that. Yeah.
Because in every genre has their own fanboys, especially when it comes to superhero movies. I mean, I can't stand it. I mean, there's Deadpool fanboys everywhere you go, and I don't see what the appeal is, to be honest with you. Like, he's kind of just lame, and I don't get it. Like, if I was 14, I'd be like, yeah, Deadpool's cool. He said ass. But as a grown person, it's just like, it's something I would take my kid to if I had kids, but I wouldn't go see it. I'm not excited to see Deadpool.
Deadpool is as funny as 2.5 Men.
Well, I wouldn't know because I've never watched that show.
Don't.
That's why I don't. I won't watch The Big Bang. Because I could just tell from the commercials I'm not going to like this show, so I don't watch it at all. I refuse.
The funniest thing about 2.5 Men is it knowing that Charlie Sheen caught AIDS during the making of it.
Well, to be honest, I have no idea about the show, and I'm kind of glad that Charlie Sheen has stepped away from the limelight, because it really wasn't going so well for him for a little while there.
I wish he'd.
I still think there's a huge market for merchandise especially when it comes to pop culture. I mean, the amount of money that, you know, like HBO is making off of Game of Thrones merchandise. You know, like my friend just got, you know, for Christmas, she got some Game of Thrones dragon egg candles. You know, and I'm sure those were probably like $20 or $25 in a store. So, you know, there's definitely still a market for maybe not so much like collectibles, but there's definitely enough of a market for merchandise. And I definitely wouldn't call the two mutually exclusive.
But my whole thing is I used to be almost a prostitute for DVDs. Like I'd have done horrible things for a nice set of extras, you know? And these days the idea of somebody listening to like an audio commentary, it's like an audio what?
Yeah, I mean, things just, you know, technology is going to advance, you know, mutate and advance so much that I think content creators just need to find a new way to get people to, you know, purchase, you know, everything is so accessible online. If I want to steal your shit, I could steal it. So why shouldn't I? And I don't think that any content creator has really come up with that. Like, yeah, we still have like Blu-rays and like those Steelbox editions with extra content, but not everybody's running out to buy Steelboxes. I mean, half the people don't even know what a Steelbox is. So I think that might be one of the plays when it comes to, you know, the upcoming streaming wars, which are, you know, inevitable. You know, with Disney coming up with their own streaming service, and, you know, there's other, you know, players in the game that are going to try to, you know, get in there. I think NBC is making their own thing. So I think it's going to come down to how these content providers are going to let their customers access extra material, because that might be the game changer. It's like, well, you know, I could subscribe to Hulu, but maybe I'll subscribe to Netflix because they have all these extra
That would, because I remember, how the way things have changed bothers me. Like I remember, at Christmas there, one of the gifts my mom got me was the Infinity War Blu-ray.
Yeah.
And it said on the cover over 40 minutes of exclusive extras, and I'm like, 40 minutes?
If people out there just don't. If there's 10 hours of like, you've seen Memento, right? So you know how it's kind of like backwards, right? So, you know, like, I'm sure on the collector's edition it said like, oh, you know, 3 hours of bonus, you know, material, and I'm sure they counted that as bonus material. But when you watch that movie sequentially, it kind of sucks. Like, it's kind of boring. it's just a kind of obvious movie. So, you know, just because there's extra content on a disc doesn't make it worth it. So, like, show me some content that makes it worth it, and I'll buy it. Like, you know, there was some Back to the Future box sets that actually came with some cool documentary. I don't give a
Well, I did like it, and I thought, right, well, I'm going to have to buy this when it comes out. And they announced the extras, and it was an extended edition of a musical performance, and that's it. And I thought, well, I'll just wait for it to be on the TV.
Yeah, there's really no need for it. I mean, you know, I feel like the way it works now is, you know, people, like, content gets rushed out to market so quickly after it hits theater. So, you know, it's like, okay, the movie's out, 6 weeks later you could get your hands on a DVD, and then like another 6 weeks later it's probably going to be streaming. So it's like, what the that's the way I see it. Why spend money when you don't have to? And I just feel like, you know, with streaming on the rise and brick and mortar stores, you know, dying off, you know, why as a movie company, you know, why would I spend all this money on the DVD release when I don't have to?
True, but it's going to be a sad day when we can no longer hear Orlando Bloom recount his memories of being in Pirates of the Caribbean 11.
Yeah, but you know, that's why things like riff tracks are pretty cool. You know, I don't know if you know, like Mystery Science Theater 3000 came and went, and but the guys they still do riff tracks over movies. There's a streaming platform called Pluto TV, and one of their channels is just all riff tracks, just all movies with these dudes talking over it, and you know, it makes me watch. I absolutely check that out. It's just something unique. I mean, I guess I can't call it unique since it's been going on since Mystery Science Theater, but I mean, who else has been doing something like that? So it's a fun watch.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that auto commentaries, because that sort of brings me to my next topic, because one of my upcoming podcasts, when I get a bunch of time, is I'm going to do a commentary with a guest or two along to these YouTube documentaries that have been made about some of your work colleagues. So what do you think about these documentaries being made about Anthony Cumia, Joe Matarese, etc.?
Well, I guess I'll start off with Joe Matarese. Like, honestly, I don't even know what the beef is. I don't know who he is. Like, I don't even get it. So we could just scratch that off the list. As far as, like, you know, people that used to be on the show, I don't get it, I guess. Like, who's it, like, besides the core group of people that still, you know, like, go on Reddit and post and, you know, follow people on Twitter, like, aside from that group, like, who's interested in some, like, weird documentary about an obscure radio host from a million years ago? Like, most of the information is, like, you only care about it if, like, you know, like, if you're a fan, like, an outsider wouldn't start watching one of these videos and being like, oh, this is interesting, because you just wouldn't care. Like, who's gonna stumble upon, like, a Sam Roberts documentary and then, like, really sit there for a half hour listening to it?
Do you happen to watch wrestling, WWE wrestling?
No, I grew out of that phase quite some time ago.
Well, that's incredibly rude, because I've got wrestling pajama bottoms on right now. But anyway, Sam works for the WWE, and he stinks. Like, Charlie Sheen has better blood than Sam Roberts does presenting skills.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of stills. I think there was a GIF that somebody made. It looked like he had an awkward moment or two.
Two?
Well, I mean, just looking at Sam is a little awkward in the first place.
He looks like Will Ferrell had lovely sex without a condom on with the monkey, and then the ugly baby was born and they battered it.
He's definitely. I think he's more suited behind a microphone than in front of a camera.
No, he's sitting behind the door. He shouldn't even be on the mic, to be honest. Like, I don't know why the.
When you look at who was left on that show, you know, after it started to fall apart and everything got segmented, and you know, they got rid of Anthony, and you had it was Opie and Jimmy, and then I guess once got the boot, it was quite clear, who wanted to be a personality and who didn't. Like, obviously it was, Travis wasn't going to take that role because, there was never any desire for him to be that person, to be somebody on air. But Sam was always, ever since, he was hired as an intern, he always made it quite clear that his intent was to be a personality. So, for serious management, and believe me, we had many meetings every week. We had meetings, so like I know these dudes, and for them to be like, oh, we'll just throw Sam in there, like, yeah, that was an obvious choice for them, because I mean, Jim's not gonna, he can't carry a show by himself. No offense, Jimmy, but you can't do it.
Do you think that Jimmy, and this has been kind of an opinion that people have had, because he's gone kind of, I wouldn't say PC, because he still does his jokes about peckers and stuff, but do you think he's kind of living afraid of this whole Me Too movement thing?
That's a difficult topic, I guess, for me to comment on, just simply because, like, I once I was done with the show, I really haven't paid attention to a lot of the comedians that were close to the show, I suppose. Like, like there's a bunch of, like, Bill Burr. Jim's humor is whatever his humor was back in like 2010, So I know obviously we've all come a long way since then. So I don't really have any idea what he's doing now.
Yeah, no, it's just because I don't know if you remember the bit with the thing where there was like these drink promotion girls on the show, and I think it was Goldslager or something delicious like that, and that Jimmy banged one of them when they were drunk.
No, I think what you're talking about is like that was really a long time ago now.
Mm-hmm.
That was like 2004. I think this band came in and they had some girls with them. No, I think all right. I see where you're going with this. So no. We had a Jägermeister machine in the studio. I think that's what you mean.
Yeah.
And so this band came in with these like groupies, and everybody just was drinking and getting as wrecked as possible at like 9 a.m. And I think some things happened between consenting adults, but I don't think it's anything to be Me Tooing about.
Well, no, neither's most of the crying that goes on with that thing. Sad but true. But speaking of drinking, and there's a guy that I know and I know of him online. His name's Kyle or Saiyan Z or Saiyan Z or something.
Right.
Have you heard the latest scandal about him?
Depends. There's a lot of stuff going on with that guy.
But the thing is, because I always liked him because I think he's kind of funny. But the clip that's going about that was sent to me, now I'm going to try and give him the benefit of the doubt and say, oh, someone edited this. But it sounded like during one of his live streams, he didn't turn the camera off, and that he had sex with his wife in a room where his kids were.
I didn't hear this one. Wait, how recent is this?
About a week ago, because I got sent the clip. Yeah, and because I know how YouTube is and how people can like they can grab this and edit it and put sound effects and make it sound like we're in the pub or whatever. But it sounds so real. Like I'll send you the clip after if you want.
Sure. I mean, look, I remember that there was he got wrecked and forgot to turn his camera off, and there was a clip of him just like pissing on his floor. Like there was no toilet there. Like he was just legit pissing on his floor. So for him to like leave a camera on and start banging his wife, it's entirely plausible. Entirely.
It's he's a mad guy. But the thing is, he's one of the guys, with the way you were talking earlier about the content creator stuff, is that I'm amazed that his profile's so big on YouTube because, like, I'll be honest, I do find him funny, but then 40 minutes into his show,
he'll start taking calls, and it's just people yelling the N-word at him again and again and again for hours. And I'm no snowflake, but that's not something that's fun to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I went on his podcast a couple of times. It's just like he starts to get belligerent, and then and then usually I'm drinking too, so it's just like he starts getting belligerent, I start getting belligerent, and it's just. Like my beef with him is that like he keeps, he keeps re-uploading videos about me, like for what? Like I just don't understand. Like, I'm a guy that's been out of that radio show for how come I could so easily find this, I suppose? Like why is it there? Like who's caring about this? And why do you like if you're so popular and your shit is so good, how come you consistently have to keep using my name to attract attention to your channel and your videos? So I think that's my beef with him. It's just like either, just like take my last name out of the video, dude. Like I don't care. Danny from O&A or whatever, like ex producer Danny. I don't. That just rubs me the wrong way because he just keep like his channels, eventually all of his channels get shut down. So he starts with one channel, it gets shut down, and then he takes all of his old videos, uploads it to a new channel. So, I think I spoke with him about this like last year, and I was like, bro, please take these, either change the titles or take them down. And he took them down, but then, obviously that channel got. Some beef that happened on the show in 2008 or whatever, and he's got to upload a video about it so that he can get his channel monetized. And it's just like, come up with your own content. Like I don't get it. Like why do you have to consistently use my name and the names of others? It's not just me, to drive traffic to your, like why should this dude? Why should my name be out there at the same time that he's getting paid for it? Like that.
Yeah, the latest I've heard from because people are always trashing him on Twitter, and the latest I've heard is that they want to report him to the tax people because apparently he gets I don't know what they call government handout money over there. So he gets
welfare probably.
He gets welfare money. He's monetized on YouTube, and people are sending him donations, and I don't think that's legal. So they seem to be going after him for that.
Well, I mean, he makes his own enemies fairly easily, so that would be all on him. There's really not much to say about it. Like, yeah. I've had my issues with the guy. I tried to talk to him like.
Tiff, shut up, stupid.
No, I can't stand it. I had to leave. Let's say, just thought it was like just the. Every single time. At 9 o'clock at night, just trying to relax, but drinking beers, playing poker. I don't need. But like the last thing I want to do is start making show references and chip.
It's drinking and cum shooting time.
That's damn right. It's.
Do
you think that the O&A legacy has been ruined?
I mean, yes. I mean, easily yes. But I think more importantly is simply that even if nothing really, if nothing happened and they just kind of continued or whatever, it would have been anyway, just simply because of how much, socially things have changed, and that kind of like shock radio, just it's very much part of its own time. It doesn't age well, and you could definitely listen to, especially like earlier bits, and you could place them because it just doesn't age very well, and you go. Like I do. I mean, not like I listen to it much anymore, but there's definitely times where, I would think of like a favorite bit of mine from back in the day, and I'd look it up and I'd be like, man, this can't believe I even listened to this. Like, it sounds like a whole different show. But, you grow up and your tastes change, and, obviously things don't age well with time as much as some other things do. So, I think even if nothing crazy went down, I think people would still kind of look at that show like it was trash. Like, that there's political cartoons from local New York papers from like the late 90s and 2000s where basically Opie and Anthony is synonymous with garbage and trash. So it's not like they ever had this legacy. Like, the only people that thought that they had a legacy was some hardcore fans and probably Opie himself.
But it's a shame.
It's not. Look. It's just not as big of a show as some people would like to believe that it was. That's all.
But then that's sort of like my favorite band of all time is Oasis, and they were never like enormous, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't the best.
Well, no, I mean Oasis, at least here in the States, was fucking absolutely gigantic. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, you couldn't turn on the radio without, because it was a crossover hit, really. So you had it on the rock stations and you had it on the pop stations. So, Oasis was all over the. Well, I mean, I know they probably have more than one album, but as far as their popularity, wise goes, they had one good one. And I kind of feel like that's kind of how it works with Opie and Anthony. Like, when they were on terrestrial radio in the late 90s, early 2000s, that was their, they were getting there. Like, at their peak back then, they had a. It was ridiculous. And let's fast forward a few years. We do a Halloween party at the Hard Rock, and this. It was great because then you go to, we get syndicated over to CBS, and they actually have.
Opie, Jimmy, and Anthony, not Sam. But it's a shame because it seems that Anthony's still really clinging on to it because like he's trying to get these new co-hosts on his podcast, and apparently he's still drinking loads, and they say it's taking a bad effect on his health and stuff. But it's a shame, really.
I don't think it's a shame. I just think that people change, and your personality is going to shift and morph and do things that I mean, I guess you do have control over it, but he's the kind of person where it's just he's gonna go where it takes him. So is this dude the same dude that he was 20 years ago? Absolutely not. Is he the same dude that I started hanging out with, who I became best friends with for years? No, absolutely not. Like, if I see a clip, it's like, I don't even know who. pampered celebrities, let's say, and he would say something like, there's no one around him. There's no one around this guy to be like, what the That's kind of what is needed there, but he's never going to have that. Like, Keith's not going to talk back. No one's going to talk back and say, no, this is. There's just been too much. There's been too much bad blood over the years. There's just no way in hell that would ever happen.
More bad blood than Charlie Sheen.
I mean, that's like, you got to get something new, man, because that's like the second Charlie Sheen AIDS joke that you're making there.
This is Danny. I want to thank you for your time, but we've just come to the final two questions, and these are the questions I ask everybody. And these are brutally, brutally important questions to your whole future. So here's the first one. Who is the better band, Queen or the Beatles?
Man, that's hard to compare. Let me think. I mean, it's really a you want to place their importance above all, because they were the grandfather of a lot of things, and there wouldn't be a Queen without the Beatles. But the fact that there was a Queen was so influential on music that they spawned all this other stuff. So it really, I think it's honestly it's obviously a question of preference, but for the kind of music that I listen to personally and enjoy, I would say that Queen has been more of an influence on those bands than the Beatles have.
Yes, that Queen is the correct answer. Queen is better than the Beatles. But here's the big question, and this is the one that everything relies on, Danny. So, and there is a correct answer to this question. The Spice Girls are back. Who is your favorite Spice Girls?
I don't even know what they look like, dude. I wouldn't be able to name them. Who's wait, no, let me Google it real quick. Let me Google the Spice Girls. Okay, so the Spice Girls are back. Which one's my favorite now?
Yeah.
Hang on, wait. Let me look at some more pictures real quick. Is it? Okay, am I looking at them what they look like now or what they used to look like?
Both. Just overall.
I think I would go with Redhead Spice.
No, sorry. The correct answer was Baby Spice, the blonde one.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I'm not into like Barbie-looking girls like that.
No, she's the right one because she looks like she knows her way around a good hot dog.
I'm sure they all know a little something, but I'm partial to redheads, I suppose.
I wouldn't know about that one, though.
What's up?
It'd be like if you were doggy styling them. It'd be like having sex with Axl Rose.
Well, have you seen him lately? He looks like somebody's aunt.
He looks like he looks worse than Aunt Kumia.
I mean, they both look like someone's grandmother at this point. And it looks like he belongs on the fucking Golden Girls half the time. He looks like some crossbreed between like Rue McClanahan and Estelle Getty. I'd like to thank him for being a friend.
Okay, that was Danny Ross. Don't forget I'm going to link his Twitter down below. Send him a message. Tell him to get that podcast. Keep coming. He's a funny guy. He's an opinionated guy. That's who you need doing shows. Maybe we'll get him on the Creative Control Network. So that's the show. See you next week. If you're watching this on YouTube, give us a thumbs up and leave a few comments. Actually talk about what you heard. Or if you're on the streaming apps, give it a 5-star review and actually help me out. It's Hughezy. Bye-bye.